Town Square.
When you hear this,
they've got him again!
And this,
He scored!
And this,
oh boy, what a move by Embiid!
You think of us. We are sports. 97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, a Town Square media station. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
What a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night, Hump Day Wednesday edition on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Let's break down what we got coming up the next hour for you on the show. So here's the deal. We are still going to have one more opportunity for you to qualify for the Eagles 49ers tickets later this hour. The last hour, we got 5 more qualifiers. The key word for this hour, I will give that to you just momentarily. Plus, it is a Wednesday, Weinberg Wednesday. We'll talk Phillies and Eagles coming up in about less than 20 minutes with Dave Weinberg. Of course, he writes for Extra Point columns over at 97.3ESPN.com. And we'll talk about the Phillies and the latest Eagles news. We'll get to the Eagles in just a bit. But before we get to the Phillies and their big win last night, literally and figuratively, your key word for this hour, the key word is lane. Keep that key word, lane, handy. When I tell you to text later in the show, you text in and you have an opportunity to qualify for the Eagles 49ers tickets giveaway. Again, you must be present to win at your reason Wildwood during the Sports Bash broadcast from 2 to 6 p.m. on 97.3 ESPN. So let's get to the Phillies win last night before we get to the Eagles news, because there was some very significant Eagles news last night. So here's the deal. When you think about the Phillies game last night, the Phillies game when they won last night was way more than I ever expected. It was out of nowhere, it felt like, that the Phillies were one of those teams that you had a feeling they could have an offensive output like that. But when they actually did it last night, it really made you think, is this team a team of destiny? And I hate to talk in platitudes like that because it's such a grandiose thing to say. But for me, I look at what this Phillies team is capable of. So last night, I thought there were 2 huge takeaways from the game. Number one, it's obvious to me that the Diamondbacks, either they were not mentally prepared or they were not completely out of their depth last night. And I don't know which one it is, because when I'm watching the game last night, all I kept thinking is the Diamondbacks don't look like they belong on the field with the Phillies. You know, Torey Lovello, he said this after the game last night. And when he said this, I kind of scratched my head because I felt like it was almost him trying to have an excuse. Like he was trying to dismiss what we all know is true, because he was asked about, hey, what's the impact of basically playing in Citizens Bank Park, the first shutout in Diamondbacks franchise postseason history. This is what the manager said last night. Well, here's the problem, manager Torey Lovello. It does matter. It does matter if you play on the moon or you play at Citizens Bank Park or you play at Chase Field or you play in the middle of the Iowa cornfield from Field of Dreams. It does matter because where you play has an impact, whether it's overt or subconsciously, on your psyche. And it's obvious that your team, for as talented as they are a young team that has never experienced playing in an environment like the Philly fans in Citizens Bank Park. And frankly, I don't know what Diamondback baseball is supposed to be. Because when I watched the Diamondbacks this year, they were about as Jekyll and Hyde at times as Aaron Nola has been this year. The Diamondbacks went through stretches where it felt like they couldn't win any games. And then they went through other stretches where it felt like they're the most unbeatable force of nature in all of baseball. So, no, Torey Lovello, I think that you're making excuses. And I think last night the Phillies did their best to take the Diamondbacks' soul. That's what happened last night. When they played the Dodgers and the Brewers games were actually pretty close. The Dodgers games, only 2 of the games were close. 1 game was a blowout. There was never a point in time when you watched Diamondbacks playing the Dodgers or the Brewers that you felt like they were coming for it. You never felt like, hey, these Milwaukee fans, hey, these Dodger fans, they are on top of me. No, you felt like if you're the Diamondbacks, we are able to win any game against any team in front of us. This Diamondbacks team, may I remind you, lost 5 of their last 8 games to end the season. They had a losing streak of 10 games in August of this year. So, no, I don't know what Diamondback baseball is supposed to be. I think the Diamondbacks have a lot of talent. I think they're a young and up-and-coming team that's ahead of schedule. The Phillies, on the other hand, know what it takes to get to the World Series. And they rode the talent on this team to the finish line. And I think it was amazing to see the Phillies explode last night. And one more point before we wrap up on the Phillies. Of course, text board is open at 609-403-0973. When I was listening to Jimmy Rollins in the post game last night, I thought he brought up a great point where he said it's a good thing that Nick Castellanos and Alec Bohm are batting where they are in the lineup, because they said it lengthens the Phillies lineup. It gives the lineup more depth. It makes them more of a threat. And I think it's an amazing point by Rollins, because Rollins was a guy who played on a World Series team that frankly didn't have the length that this Phillies lineup does. If you really dig deep, you realize that outside of Rollins, Howard, Utley, Worth, and then the 1 year they had Pat Burrell when he would show up and play, they didn't have this like amazing depth of like threats. Like Carlos Ruiz had 1 good hitting season his entire baseball career, and they got popped for PEDs, as Danny Ryan always likes to bring up. Pedro Feliz, come on, really? Raul Ibanez replaced Burrell in left field after 2008, but they never won a World Series with Ibanez. You go up and down this Phillies lineup. Castellanos, the production he's given you is pretty much equal to what Jason Worth gave you. Bryce Harper's a better player than Ryan Howard was. You could argue Jimmy Rollins and Trey Turner are comparable players. Alec Bohm is better than pretty much every Phillies third baseman who played in Philadelphia from like the year, 2001 to now, basically. Like the discrepancy is incredible. JT Realmuto is a way better player than Carlos Ruiz was. And for as young and as inexperienced as Rojas is, it's not like Shane Victorino in his prime was exceptionally and exponentially better than Rojas, what he's giving you now. And by the way, Kyle Schwarber's a really good power hitter. So I thought it was a great point by Jimmy Rollins last night on the TBS post-game show. 609-403-0973 is the text board. Also, your DMs into the 973 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. Quick Eagles news I want to get to before I get to your text is that the Eagles injury report came out, and there's some good news and there's some head-scratching news. The good news is that Darius Slay did practice today. So it looks like he is on track to play this week. The bad news is it looks like we got to keep an eye on a couple other players this week. Reed Blankenship is again dealing with a ribs issue. Remember, he missed a game earlier this year due to the ribs issue. Lane Johnson, I know Brian Baldinger was on a different show saying that he was working out with Lane Johnson, and Lane Johnson is going to be good to go this week. Look, I like Brian Baldinger. He's one of the best at what he does, but I'll leave the medical evaluation to the doctors. Okay. I'm not going to, that would be like coming to me and asking me how to fix your car. Like, I mean, I've done my own oil changes, but you shouldn't be asking me to actually be your mechanic. Okay. Bradley Roby shoulder DNP, a bit of a concern. You were leaning on this guy a lot, and you were hoping that he would be available for the Dolphins and the Washington and the Cowboy games coming up. Then Devonta Smith is not practicing with a hamstring. Keep an eye on that, because anytime you have a soft tissue injury like a hamstring, that can linger. So it's how much is that precautionary? How much of that is something that we have to keep an eye on? Remember, there were multiple weeks last year. We talked about Fletcher Cox didn't practice. Brandon Graham didn't practice. Jason Kelsey didn't practice. And we found out as the week went on, it was just a day off or a precaution by the Eagles. So we'll see what happens. All right, over on the text board, 609-403-0973. Diamondbacks fan Derek is not happy with what I had to say about the Diamondbacks. I will do a little rapid fire in responding to what he said. He says Lovallo cost them with his choices. It all starts with him, with the Diamondbacks. He says he played an inter-squad game at the field in Philly with full volume of the crowd to see the noise level for the game. What does he have to say about that? Well, here's the problem. Simulating crowd volume is not the same as the energy of the crowd. It's like the difference between going to a Rutgers versus Maryland football game and going to Alabama versus Auburn. The energy is different. It's not literally the noise. It's the problem. It's the fact that anything that you're not used to, it can unnerve you. That's how it works. It's not a literal sound issue. I think that is the mistake. I think some people don't understand. It's the energy of the crowd. It's the energy of the stadium. It's the fact that the people screaming and chanting in unison. And I think that it unnerved them. Also, Diamondback fan Derek is why didn't the Phillies win 100 games? They only finished 5 games ahead of Arizona. Well, they didn't win 100 games because, one, they started the season with no Bryce Harper, no Ranger Suarez. Trey Turner hit like garbage half the year. So those are 3 reasons right there. GT Realmuto said that he was not prepared for the pitch clock, and he was out of gas at the beginning of the year. Aaron Nola took half the year to adjust to the pitch clock. And the Phillies are a team that basically, like last year, took half the year to find their swagger, and they weren't able to get it together until the postseason like last year. They still won 90 games. the misnomer is that winning in the regular season does not translate to the postseason. You can win a game in April, May, and June and have zero consequence on the postseason, because in April, May, and June, you're not playing the best of the best every day. You're playing the Pittsburgh Pirates, and you're playing, teams like the Colorado Rockies, and you're playing teams like the Oakland A's for different points of the year. You're playing teams like the Washington Nationals. You're not playing the best of the best every single week. So certain teams can have success during the regular season. Doesn't mean they'll have success in the postseason. In today's baseball, winning 100 games in the regular season is more useless than it's ever been in sports history. It has never been more useless in any point in baseball history than it is now to win 100 plus games. It has literally become the most useless stat in all of professional sports, is winning 100 games in a regular season. And it's a shame, because back in the day, the best teams in baseball were the teams that won games in a regular season. Back in the 80s, you had teams like the A's and the Tigers and the Phillies in the late 70s and early 80s. Those were dominant regular season teams that went on the postseason runs. In today's game, the sport is so diluted because there's so many teams and the roster don't have enough talent on them. That's the problem. All right, I rambled enough. Quick break. Coming back on the other side, Dave Weinberg for this week's edition of Weinberg Wednesday. We'll talk Phillies and Eagles with him coming up next on 97.3 ESPN. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on a Wednesday night.
Catch Phillies playoff baseball on 97.3 ESPN.
Swing and a drive, right field, way back, and gone! Off the scoreboard and right. A Schwarber.
Can the Phillies make a return trip to the World Series this season? Listen to find out.
It's the National League Championship Series. Phillies Diamondbacks.
Game 3 tomorrow. Coverage begins at 5 p.m. The road to the World Series starts here on 97.3 ESPN.
Oh, yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
If you're currently stuck in a loan or lease, AJ the Trade Man can get you released. Matt Blatt Nissan.com. It's on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
Bring smiles to all when shopping online with Dell Technologies Gift Guide. Whether it's for the artist, the entrepreneur, the student, or the streamer, you'll find the perfect gift for everyone on your list. Dell.com/gift guide makes gifting easy with a carefully curated selection of our best tech. Shop now to explore our innovative PCs like the XPS 13 laptop, powered by the latest Intel Core processors, plus this season's top accessories. Visit Dell.com/gift guide today to get a jump on your holiday gift list. That's Dell.com/gift guide.
Here's Michael stepping up to the retailer counter to play Pick 3 from the New Jersey Lottery.
That's right, and now there's a straight back bonus. That's the second chance to win.
He's playing 908 on a straight wager. What do you think, Bob? Birthday or area code?
It could be an address. Here comes the drawing. Oh, the winning numbers are 809. Man, so close.
But wait! The straight back bonus means matching the winning numbers in reverse still wins.
Yeah.
Get a free second chance to win Pick 3, only through October 29th.
He's done it!
Must be 18 or older to buy a lottery ticket. Please play responsibly. If you're somebody who has a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Do you hear that? That's the sound of holiday joy at the Home Depot, where you can find everything you need to get ready for the holiday season, like all new festive outdoor decor. Spread more joy this season with bigger, bolder, and brighter inflatables from the Home Depot, like our exclusive new 8-foot animated Santa and reindeer inflatable for just $149, available in-store and online. Get holiday ready right now at the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
When you open the Bet Parks app, you're in the zone. Winning is always a rush, but the money is in the moments. It's the energy of being all in, the passion of a perfect parlay, and the pure joy of a jackpot. It's another opportunity to win big every day of the week. Sign up for Bet Parks and get a welcome offer today. You play for fun, you love to win. You bet. Bet Parks.
Must be 21 in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Ohio, or Maryland. Gambling problem? 1-800-GAMBLER.
Hey, it's number 59, Seth joining. Birds football, best time of the year. Join me right now and open the Bet Parks Sportsbook app, and you're in the zone. Bet Parks is the only casino and sportsbook app that I use and recommend. Winning is always a rush, but the money is in the moment. The confidence of underdogs covering, the tension before the clutch turnover, and the pride of a parlay paying off. It's another chance to win big with all-day action. New customers, make your first winning $10 bet and get $125 in sports bonus bets. You play for fun, you love to win, you bet. Bet Parks.
Must be 21 in New Jersey, Ohio, Maryland. Gambling problem? 1-800-GAMBLER.
Discover, this is Danny.
Hi, it's Jen Coolidge. I just want to thank you for making me feel so special. I earned cash back on debit for my dinner party groceries.
That's great. But with Discover Cashback Debit, we give everyone cash back on everyday purchases. Anything else I can help you with?
Are you hungry? Because everyone left after the asparagus sorbet.
Introducing Discover Cashback Debit, a checking account with cash back. It pays to Discover. Eligibility and terms at discover.com/cashback debit. Discover Bank, member FDIC.
97.3 ESPN has teamed up with Seize the Deal for incredible weekly offers from some fantastic local restaurants. Here's this week's big deal.
Get a $50 gift card good for use at Jester's Dive Bar for just $25.
Get this great deal starting Friday at 9 a.m. at seizethedeal.com. Hurry, chances are this deal will sell quickly. For more info on this great deal, go to seizethedeal.com.
SeizeTheDeal.com. You're listening to GameNight.
Back in on text board in just a bit. Dan and EHP, I see you out there. Your text and more coming up here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Right now it's time for a Weinberg Wednesday. Dave Weinberg is back. He's at .com over at 97.3 ESPN.com. And he joins me back here on the show. Dave, welcome back in. How's your Red October going?
Red 2-0. Can't beat that. Right up 2 games and seem to really be rolling. I do expect the Diamondbacks to still win a game or two, but I know a lot of people are thinking sweep now. But be interesting to see how everything unfolds here.
I'm glad you mentioned that because I said before you came on, Dave, that I don't think the Diamondbacks are a bad team. I just think that they were not prepared for the environment that is Citizens Bank Park. It's like the difference between a Rutgers versus Maryland football game and an Alabama versus Auburn football game.
It can be a tad unnerving. I would think. You're getting the environment of the hostile fan base, and everything's loud and screaming and everything. But let me ask you this though. I've been kind of waffling this one day. I don't quite get why a crowd has anything to do with a baseball game. I mean, it's not like the pitcher has to hear the signals, right? I mean, you've been pitching your whole life. How do you get unnerved by somebody yelling? I don't understand.
It's the same reason why people get unnerved about anything they're unfamiliar with. It's the idea that if it's something unfamiliar, unusual to you, it can throw you off. And maybe for someone who doesn't have a strong will or a strong mind or is not mentally prepared for something, it's like if we're going to use a non-sports example, right? Okay. It's like if you're driving down the road and all of a sudden somebody with a really loud exhaust system comes up along you and revs their engine and flies by you about 50 miles an hour faster than you're going. Like, it's a little unnerving. It's like, oh, where'd that come from? Well, take that and amplify that for 9 innings of that unnervedness.
Okay, if you say so. I just don't.
That's the best example I got.
I'm not gonna. I don't buy it. I don't think it was any let out in an NFL stadium every Sunday.
To me, well, it also is like, it's like, what was that golfer who was complaining about the Phoenix Open about how they were too loud and rowdy for him?
Yeah, I can't remember, but yeah, I did. Yeah.
I feel like it's like that. Like, if you're not used to something, you automatically view it as a problem or a negative, whether actually it is or not.
Yeah, I guess. I just don't. They've been doing it their whole lives. I mean, I'm standing on the pitcher's mound. I'm not hanging a curveball because somebody's screaming at me. I just don't. I don't get. I mean, and to flip it for just a bit. I mean, every time the Phillies pitcher gets 2 strikes on the hitter, you can't even hear yourself think, right? So why aren't they unnerved by the screaming of the fans? And
because they're used to it.
I guess
because they're used to it.
Yeah, but it's not that way every game, right? Just for the playoffs, right? I mean,
Well, I mean, listen, at Citizens Bank Park, the Phillies are 28-11 in postseason games. It's the best record in baseball history. So, maybe there is something a little extra in the air.
I guess there is. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that they don't have a factor. I just don't understand how you would let a crowd alter the way you play or the way you think. It just doesn't compute with me. But it can compute with me. But I guess it does.
Well, listen, I mean, the numbers show that it does. I mean,
sure.
I know it's not an apples comparison, but that's why I compare it to football because, for me, I've been to like a Rutgers college football game. It's nothing like an SEC football game. You know what I mean? Like they're two completely different animals.
True.
And so it's like, I'm sorry, but the fans in Milwaukee, I doubt are as loud and as crazy as Phillies fans are. I feel like
Dodgers aren't either, right? True.
Well, the Dodgers don't even show up on time. I mean, their fans are coming off the beach before they get to Chavez Ravine.
Right.
So.
But don't you think, like, I don't know, Houston's fans are pretty loud, and Wrigley Field's probably pretty loud. And,
yeah, but the Diamondbacks didn't play in those environments.
They had to play the Cubs this year, I would think. It wasn't in the playoffs, obviously.
Not a postseason game.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. They haven't been in the playoffs in forever, so yeah, I can understand that, I guess.
I mean, if you think about it, there's a huge difference between playing a Cubs game at Wrigley on a July afternoon when everyone is drunk and not paying attention,
as opposed to an October game when everybody's drunk.
Well, in October they're paying attention more. That's all. Day drinking at a baseball game in the summer is different than having a drink during a playoff game. You know what I mean?
Gotcha. Yeah. You're pretty revved up. I understand.
Yeah, exactly. The revved up, but still back to the Phillies. Dave Weinberg joining us for Weinberg Wednesday.
Sorry to go off the track there.
I gotta admit, I was so impressed with Nola last night.
Oh, me too. He was the MVP of the game.
He was such a Jekyll and Hyde pitcher this year.
Mm-hmm.
And last night, I felt like he finally said, "I'm done overthinking. I'm just going to attack these batters."
Yeah, I mean, he's been lights out so far, and yeah, I mean, the home runs are impressive, and that really gets the crowd growing, and Schwarber bombs and all that stuff. But Wheeler and Nola have been the difference in the first two games, in my mind, anyway. Especially
Absolutely.
Nola. I mean, he was just lights out last night, and if they can get those two back on the mound for another two games, then I have no reason to think that they won't have the same result. I don't know. I mean, I would hope that Gallen will pitch a little bit better. No, yes, wouldn't he? He's experienced this before, right? I mean, he's been the Eagles games and Eagles Cowboys and stuff. I mean, I don't understand how he got intimidated by it. But
his story's weird because apparently he grew up a Cardinals fan.
Right?
He loved Mark McGwire. And like when the Phillies won the 2008 World Series, basically his mom told him he wasn't allowed to go to the parade because he wasn't a Phillies fan. So like, I don't know. Like, when Dave, I had this conversation a while ago. Like when you run into people who are not fans of like that community's fan base, right?
Yep.
I feel like that there are fans, like if you live somewhere else and you move to South Jersey, or like, you grew up in a household where like, your mom or dad were like from Pittsburgh and they moved to New Jersey. Like, I understand those things. I don't understand the dude who says, I love Mark McGwire, so I'm going to root for the Cardinals instead of the Phillies. Like that dude, I don't get.
Yeah, me either. I'm with you there. Yeah. You live in South Jersey, you should be rooting for the Phillies and the Eagles, definitely.
Like if you're someone who lives in Tom's River and you said I'm a Mets fan, not a Phillies fan, like I understand that. Like
that's kind of like that's the cutoff. Yeah.
Right. But like, like when you run into a Cowboys fan in South Jersey and it's like, oh, I'm a Cowboys fan because they won Super Bowls in the 90s and the 70s.
Yeah, don't give me that stars on the helmets crap. I mean, that's ridiculous. I've written stories about that. If you're like lived in Texas, okay, but don't bring that here.
It's like, like that's why I respect Giant fans way more than Cowboy fans.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like, there's a lot of people who used to live in North Jersey. They moved to South Jersey, It happens, I don't sit here and get, bent out of shape over that. You tell me, for example, that, like same with Mets fans, and Yankee fans. It's like, if you used to live in North Jersey or your family is from North Jersey and you're in South Jersey now, I get that. But like, these people who are fans of like the most random teams in the world, because it's like, my favorite player plays for them. Like my favorite basketball player in the NBA for years was Dwayne Wade. I was never a Miami Heat fan.
Right. Pistol Pete Maravich for me. Yep.
Right. Pistol Pete played for what? The New Orleans Jazz before they moved to Utah? Like,
Yep.
I think he played for the Atlanta Hawks too at one point.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Good memory. Yeah. It was a little bit. This environment's a little bit. It was a little bit different back in like the '60s when I was growing up because the Eagles were horrid. I mean, they were just terrible, and no one went to the games. And you had Pete Lisk as your quarterback, so naturally people would So naturally, people would gravitate to, you had the America's team thing. You had Tom Landry. One of my brothers was a Rams fan because he just liked the helmets and the West Coast thing. My other brother was a Bears fan because he liked Walter Payton. So it was a different vibe back then. But right now, I mean, there's absolutely no reason not to follow the teams where you live. That's just stupid. And the brother who was a Rams fan lives in Daytona Beach. He's lived there for like 30 years. He was one of the original season ticket holders to the Jacksonville Jaguars because he lives in Florida. He figured, what the heck? I gotta get behind the Florida team. So there you go.
But see that's an example of what we're saying. Like if you move to an area or you grew up cheering for a team, it's not like your religion where you have to be like, I go to the church of this sports team. Like,
correct.
You're allowed to be like part of the community. You don't have to be the dude who grabs your Bible and shakes it at the sky. I mean,
right, absolutely, I agree with you.
Yeah, it's some people don't drive me nuts. It was like I was saying, like for example, the Kimbrel ponytail is the one thing that drives me nuts about him. I think it's one of the dumbest looks in the world. It reminds me of the person who gets a tattoo and has no like intrinsic value to it. Like the person who gets a tattoo is like, a family member or their kid or like, some like personal relevance or like something that's meaningful to them. Like I get those people, but the person who just gets like this massive tattoo and it's like, why'd you get that? I don't know, man. Like to me, that's Kimbrel's hair. Kimbrel has that haircut because he can, not because it actually has any like relevance.
I wish I could, but yeah. It bugs me? Alvarado warming up in the bullpen without his hat. That drives me nuts. And Castellanos with his shirt unbuttoned halfway down to his navel. That just drives me nuts too. But, he performed. He's hitting home runs all over the place, so you can't really complain,
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the Alvarado thing's a little nitpicky, though. I'll say that. The Castellanos thing makes sense because the baseball uniform is supposed to be buttoned up. So the Alvarado, look, if Alvarado pitching in the bullpen without a hat on makes him a better pitcher, go for it, man. That's what I say.
Have you ever seen anybody warming up without a hat on before?
I'm sure there has been. I just don't remember. You know what I mean?
Okay. All right.
I mean, I'm sure there was some random dude at some point who might have and I just don't remember it.
I got you.
I never really thought that deeply about the guys in the bullpen, except for to see who was actually in the bullpen.
Right. I hear you.
But that's just me. I'm Josh Hennig. That's Dave Weinberg. We're talking here on the Weinberg Wednesday here on GameNight on 97.3 ESPN FM, 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank. See how Dave, flip it over to the Eagles here.
Sure.
Eagles
I'm sorry about that.
First loss on the year. And, I understand that the Eagles lost one game. But I think there's a huge difference between being critical of the team and sitting here and acting like it's the end of the season just because they lost to the Jets.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's one loss. I mean, and granted, it wasn't the best one. I mean, it's not like you lost to your division rival or even a conference rival or, the Niners or the Cowboys or whatever. You lost to the Jets who pretty much stink. But then look over on the other side, you saw the Niners get beat in Cleveland. So, it just happens. They didn't play very well, and they got what they deserved, really. I mean, they deserve to lose that game, and they'll have to see how that affects them, how they're able to respond to adversity that they haven't really faced this year yet.
Yeah, in the Nick Sirianni era, the Eagles are 1-2 when they have 3 or more turnovers in a game. It is what it is.
You don't take care of the football, you're going to lose every time. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, and the crazy part is they still, like the 49ers, had a chance to win their games. And that, to me, is a testament to how good they are, that you are so talented, despite the fact that you had your worst game of the year, you still had a chance to win.
Yeah, it goes for play calling, too, though. I thought that was a big mistake, what they did, but that's all right.
Well, I mean, that's why I wrote about it at 97.3 ESPN.com. To me, I think the biggest problem is Sirianni and Johnson. I think they're not running Sirianni can say all he wants that we're running. Oh, it's the same offense as last year. It's obviously not, because you're not calling the same style of game. And I'm not asking Brian Johnson to be a clone of Shane Steichen, but Shane Steichen right now has the 11th best scoring offense in the NFL. And he's had 2 quarterbacks this year, and his team is way worse than the Eagles. And they have the same number of turnovers as the Eagles. So Shane Steichen was doing something right. So you can't tell me Shane Steichen is the only smart football coach on planet Earth. Like, you're Sirianni, you're Johnson. Go in a dark room, figure out what you're doing wrong, and come out better.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Yeah, they're not just something just out of sync there. I mean, you can't argue they go to AJ Brown a lot, but why not? I mean, he's the hot hand. He's putting up 130 yards every game. Devontae Smith seems to be the odd person out right now. Maybe they'll come back to him eventually. But when you drop 2 passes right in your hands, why would you keep feeding him? And I don't know what the deal was with Dallas Goedert. I don't know if it's just because they're so reliant on AJ Brown now that he just kind of gets lost in the shuffle. I mean, he had a pretty good game 2 weeks ago, but it seems like by and large he's kind of been invisible this year, and that surprises me a little bit.
Well, part of the problem is with Goddard is that they're not using him properly, and that's why it goes back to play calling for me. I mean, I don't want to see Dallas Goedert ever in a bubble screen. I want to see Dallas Goedert, running a hitch route, running a crossing route, running a rub route. I want to see him make the defender move and him use his athleticism. I don't want to see him, running to a spot and waiting for the ball to come to him. I'm just not a fan of that.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yep. And I don't know what happened to DeAndre Swift last week. I don't get that either. I mean,
that's another conversation. Jack Driscoll is getting his ass ripped out there, and it's like, dude, like you got to do something to help this guy. Like, you got to send someone to help chip block. Tell Jack Stoll to run out there and run into somebody. Like, help this guy out. And it's like, oh, no, he's fine. He's fine. Jalen Hurts was pressured more yesterday than on Sunday than any point this season. You're telling me that you couldn't have helped Jack Driscoll? Like, it feels like sometimes these guys they're trying so hard to be the smartest person in the room.
Yeah. They tend to overthink things way too much instead of just riding what's working or what got you there. Why do you have to abandon it? It just makes no sense.
Yeah,
I can somewhat understand. Well, the Jets were missing their 2 top corners, so maybe you do want to throw the ball a little bit more often, but still.
Well, then run slant routes, run rub routes. Run. 2-3 step drop, boom, out of your hand. Like, don't tell Jalen Hurts, Jalen, we're not throwing deep passes the rest of the game. Get it out of your head. Stop throwing deep balls. We're going to go quick slants, quick hitches, and we're just going to matriculate the ball down the field like Hank Stram said.
Yep. Well, the play at the end was just pure stupidity. Why was he throwing the ball there on a 3rd and 8? Why are you throwing? You run the ball. If you don't make it, great. You pin the Jets back on their own 10-yard line. And they got a minute to go and no timeouts. The Jets are not scoring there. They're just not. So I don't understand what the thinking was there at all.
Well,
it's a terrible throw, but it never should have been made.
Yeah. The problem is, like I said, people like Sirianni, listen, I am the world's foremost expert at overthinking. So I can tell you when I see overthinking. Sirianni and the guys, they are overthinking. They're trying to be too cute, too precise, too minute of everything. It's like, sometimes you just got to keep it simple, stupid.
Yep. It's going to be interesting to see how they bounce back against Miami with their high-powered offense.
Well, the good news is Miami's defense is trash.
Yeah, so, they are. Yep.
And Miami, it's like, congratulations, Miami. You ran up the score on the Broncos and the Giants this year. Like, I think that the Miami Dolphins are fugazi. They played one good team the entire year, the Bills, and they got smashed into the ground by the Bills.
Interesting. Okay. So you're thinking Eagles this week then, huh?
Oh, I'm thinking Eagles. Listen, the Dolphins struggled to beat the Patriots, who the Eagles also struggled to beat. So then what's the difference? The Eagles at least have beaten teams with winning records this year. Miami, their claim to fame is they destroyed the Panthers and the Broncos. Like, I'm not impressed.
Okay, well, I guess maybe we'll try to impress you on Sunday then.
I mean, listen, I'm not saying they're not talented. Like, Tua is talented. Tyreek Hill is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL. Jalen Waddle is talented. And I think Mike McDaniel is a very good head coach. But I think that their offensive line is not great. And I think that their defense, without Jalen Ramsey, and there's a potential that Xavier Howard doesn't play this week, I think that their defense is bottom 10 in the NFL in points allowed this year. Bottom 10.
But their offense is number 1, probably, right?
Oh, it's number 1 because they blew out the Broncos like Penn State playing UMass.
I don't know the Broncos were that bad, but okay.
I mean, at least they looked like it that day. So
yeah, they did. They did. Yeah. Yeah.
But the other thing is, I heard someone else bring this up. I think it was Jeff Mosher earlier today. I heard him on the Sports Bash. He said that, he says, you think it's a little convenient that Miami is beating these teams soundly at home in the heat in Florida for a team that might not be used to it.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that does take some getting used to, no question about it.
I mean,
humidity down there, especially like this time of year. Yeah.
I mean, I remember that 2019 game when the Eagles went to Miami and they lost to them, and they looked like they were lost, dazed, and confused the whole time.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, what was that? Wasn't that the game that Devontae Parker had like the game of his life against the Eagles?
Yeah, I think you're right there. Yep. I think it was.
Yeah, that was embarrassing. I remember everyone was like, "Oh, the Eagles, they're horrible." And then they went on to win like 5 straight games and make the postseason. So
Yep.
Like I remember after that game, Doug Peterson joked about how hot it was. He was like, "Oh, it was so hot I couldn't think," or something like that. And people were making fun of him because some people didn't like Doug because he was like folksy and stuff. So
nothing was as hot as the opener in Dallas that one year. I can't remember what year it was when the pickle juice game.
Oh,
I mean,
right.
it was like 175 on the field or some ridiculous. I mean, it was brutal.
Well, that was before Jerry's World. So
yeah,
that was in what was that the older Dallas stadium. So
yeah, Texas Stadium. Yep,
Texas Stadium. Yeah,
or AT&T. No, that's the new one.
Well, it's AT&T now, but it used to be Texas Stadium.
Yeah, Texas Stadium. Yep, I was there. Yep.
Yeah, I can't remember if that stadium ever had a sponsorship or not. I think they just used to play the Cotton Bowl there at some point. So
yep.
All right, enough nostalgia.
Yeah, that's okay.
we could do this for a couple hours, but
this is true.
He's Dave Weinberg at Dave Weinberg 19 on the Twitter X platform. Extra Point columns over at 97.3 ESPN.com. He joins me each week here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Dave, appreciate you jumping on today.
Oh, thank you, Josh. I had a lot of fun. I'll talk to you next week.
Absolutely. Josh Hennig here on Game Night. We'll check back in on the text board coming up next. 609-403-0973. Don't forget also coming up in about 16 minutes from now, your next opportunity to qualify for the Eagles 49ers tickets giveaway. I got a bunch of texts to get to, so we'll get to you guys coming up next here on 97.3 ESPN FM, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle.
Today on ESPN Radio. After storming into Houston and winning games 1 and 2, the Rangers return home looking to take a commanding 3-0 lead. Can the Astros bounce back in a critical Game 3 on the road?
This one, a home run.
Game 3 of the Rangers and Astros in the American League Championship Series. Coverage begins today at 7:30 Eastern, with first pitch at 8 Eastern. Listen to the MLB playoffs exclusively on 97.3 ESPN FM.
Calling all Dynamites. Get ready to relive the hilariously awkward world of Napoleon Dynamite. The iconic cast is coming to Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City Saturday, March 9th. This unique evening includes a full screen of the movie, followed by a lively, freewheeling discussion with your favorite cast members, John Heater, Efren Ramirez, and John Grise. Saturday, March 9th, enjoy a full night of nostalgia and laughter as we celebrate the 20th anniversary of Napoleon Dynamite at Ocean Casino Resort in Atlantic City. Get your tickets on Friday, October 20th at 10 a.m. at theoceanac.com.
A lot of schools talk about training the cybersecurity workforce of the future, but do they really deliver? My Computer Career has been supplying the IT workforce with thousands of skilled, certified pros for 15 years. Train with the experts in support, networking, or cybersecurity and start your career in months, not years. Upskill even faster. On campus or live online, qualified students may get financial aid, including the GI Bill. My Computer Career. Accredited, acclaimed, effective. Take the free career evaluation at mycomputercareer.edu.
Imagine getting ahead of your irritable bowel syndrome with constipation or IBS-C by treating it with Linzess. Then you could start proactively managing your constipation with belly pain and get ahead of your symptoms. Talk to your doctor about Linzess, linaclotide. Linzess is a prescription medicine that treats IBS-C in adults. It's not a laxative. It's a once-daily pill that helps you get ahead of your symptoms. It's proven to help you have more frequent and complete bowel movements and helps relieve overall abdominal symptoms, belly pain, discomfort, and bloating. These symptoms were studied in combination, not individually.
Do not give Linzess to children less than 2. It may harm them. Do not take Linzess if you have a bowel blockage. Get immediate help if you develop unusual or severe stomach pain, especially with bloody or black stools. The most common side effect is diarrhea, sometimes severe. If it's severe, stop taking Linzess and call your doctor right away. Other side effects include gas, stomach area pain, and swelling.
Imagine, what could relief from IBS-C mean for you? Talk to your doctor and say yes to Linzess. Learn more at linzess.com or call 1-800-LINZESS.
With GMF financing, to qualify buyers excludes Corvette, excludes prior sales.
Everybody knows there's no beating Bennett, and right now we're kicking off our end-of-year sell-down early with our best deals of the year. While most dealers are selling new vehicles at or above MSRP, Bennett's selling new Chevys at GM supplier employee prices. Yes, you pay what our supplier employees pay, not 1 penny more. Save even more with available 0% financing. And during our year-end sale, get our best offers ever on pre-owned vehicles. We'll pay a minimum $10,000 for any trade. Any trade. We don't care if it's got 1 million miles or 1 million dents. You still get a minimum $10,000 towards any pre-owned in stock. Imagine how much more you'll get if it's in good shape. And our non-commissioned sales staff is a delight to work with because they're paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. No need to negotiate, no hassles, no haggling. Find new roads at Bennett Chevrolet in Egg Harbor Township and BennettChevy.com.
I can't wait for what's next. Even with higher stroke risk due to atrial fibrillation, an irregular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Eliquis, the Pixaban tablets, reduces stroke risk. It's the #1 cardiologist prescribed blood thinner.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without talking to your doctor, as this may increase your risk of stroke. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or have antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding or unusual bruising, or if you have tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. It may increase your bleeding risk if you take medicines such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. What are you working on today? I think my battery's dead. With free battery testing and charging, we can help you get back on the road.
Get in the zone.
So what if I need a new one? No problem. We have the right battery for your car, starting at only $89.99.
Get in the zone.
And what about my old battery? We can recycle it right here at America's #1 battery destination.
Get in the zone, AutoZone.
Restrictions apply.
If you're like me, hair isn't just hair, because hair is confidence. Hair is identity. Hair is everything. And I love that I can find beauty steals of 50% off my hair care must-haves like Lola V and Color Wow. Amazing deals on shampoo and conditioner pairs from Redken and Living Proof. And new product launches from my favorite brands like Dyson and Way. All at Ulta Beauty's gorgeous hair event, happening now until October 21st. So hurry, shop in store, online, or try pickup today. Ulta Beauty, the possibilities are beautiful. Conditions may apply.
Don't get tricked this October into overpaying for a used vehicle. Get to Matt Blatt Kia and buy a brand new 2023 Kia Forte LXS, just $19,999. You heard right, a brand new Kia with a 10-year, 100,000-mile limited warranty for under $20,000. Why would you buy a used vehicle? Stuck in a loan or lease? Matt Blatt Kia wants to get you released, and it's the only place you can drive with peace of mind with our 4-day love it or leave it return policy. Plus, you can drive with 0 down and 0 payments for 90 days on every new Kia in stock. We want to finance your future, not your past. So come get your new Kia Forte for under $20,000. But when they're gone, they're gone.
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
With approved credit, not all will qualify. Credit may affect down payment. Offers can't be combined. Go to mattblackkianj.com for complete details or 888-545-6670. Price includes all costs to be paid by consumer, except for licensing, registration, and taxes through KMF. Rebates and incentives to dealer expires 11/5/23. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike. Egg Harbor Township. And now on Route 37 in Tom's River.
Hi, this is Dr. Brad Schaefer. As a podiatrist, I can tell you no two people's feet are alike, which is why I recommend Dr. Scholl's custom fit orthotic inserts. They're customized for your feet, so you get a unique solution your feet really need, not just a one-size-fits-all insole. They're clinically proven to provide pain relief for achy feet, knees, lower back, plantar fasciitis, and heels. Take the Dr. Scholl's custom fit orthotics assessment in Walmart today, now in the foot care aisle.
Watch every Phillies postseason game with the fans at Yuri's Waterfront Restaurant. Yuri's will be open for every Phillies game 1 hour before first pitch. And Yuri's is open Saturdays and Sundays at noon for college football, Penn State, Eagles, and the NFL ticket. Yuri's has a great pub menu with drink and appetizer specials during the games. If you love sports, you'll love watching the games at Yuri's. Open for every Phillies game and weekends with the NFL ticket. Yuri's Waterfront Restaurant, exit 4A off the Parkway next to the boathouse at the foot of the bridge in Wildwood.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
All right, let's rapid fire these folks when we get out of here. All you texting in to the text board. George's Summers Point chimes in and says, hey, Josh, considering what the Phillies have been doing in the NLCS, have either you or Dave Weinberg seen a team firing on all cylinders like the Phillies are now in a playoff run? And I assume neither of you have seen the 1927 Yankees. No, I didn't see the 27 Yankees, but I do remember the 98 Yankees. That Yankees team was ridiculous. I mean, that team, they had David Wells and Andy Pettit, Rivera in the bullpen. It felt like everybody, I mean, Scott Brosius at third base had basically the greatest year of a 9-hitter I can remember in a long time. So the 98 Yankees, they were absolutely on fire when they beat the Padres in the World Series. Who else? I would say probably the 89 Athletics with Ricky Henderson. I know Ricky Henderson won the MVP next year, but I feel like the MVP season started in that postseason when they went and won the World Series. Aside from those two, if I had to think of another team, I was clicking on cylinders. Probably the 2001 Diamondbacks when it was Schilling and it was Randy Johnson. So, I mean, there have been some teams I can remember seeing. I'm probably sure there's some others I've completely forgotten, but those are the ones I think off the top of my head. So let's see here. Danny HT chimes in and says, the Phillies are really good, and the comparison to the talent of 08 is interesting. However, a title is what matters. The 2011 team was good, but no ring. Phillies need to finish this or dancing on my own, and it's irrelevant. Hey, Danny HC, you're right. You know, they do still have to win it all. I just think that the problem with the 2011 team was that I think that team, we got so heavily focused on the elite 4 starters in the pitching staff that we forgot that the rest of the team was not as deep as it had been in years past. So I personally think the 2009 team was the team that should have won the World Series because Cliff Lee, what he did that season was so incredible for that half a season. And Ibanez had a really good year in 09 as well. A couple more texts to get in here. Tom in Margate says, hey, I think Dave Weinberg doesn't understand the factor of inspiration that Philly fans are pumping up the Phillies players. That's from Tom in Margate. There's a little bit of that. I think Dave was more focused on why the other team's players were being impacted. One more text to get in here. It says, Philly fans need to relax. People are allowed to cheer for who they want. People do not have to conform to an area sports team. Go Pack, go. That's from Chris in Pittman. Well, Chris, here's the thing. You know, it's not a direct issue with people who cheer for other teams. It's the idea that people who sometimes cheer for other teams, they do so in order to be contrarian, or they just have frivolous reasons to do so. Listen, if you want to be a Packers fan, more power to you. I hope Jordan Love doesn't stink. All right, you remember the keyword from earlier in the hour? Text in at 609-403-0973. That's the text board. Text in the keyword, your name and where you're from, and you have a chance to qualify for Eagles 49ers tickets giveaway. Don't forget, you must be present if you're a qualifier at Yuri's in Wildwood on Friday, October 27th. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night. Have a good night, everybody.
There's just something about singing our favorite tune that makes us all feel good. Whether or not it makes the people listening to us feel good, well, that's another story. But there's